From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, June 1st, 2016. Silver is trading at $16.01 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,217 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $540. Antiwar.com reports a day after announcing their final assault on the Islamic State-held city of Fallujah, Iraqi troops have been stalled at the southern gates in the face of major resistance from the Islamic State forces. Unlike previous defenses, there was no word of the Islamic State using suicide attacks and rather faced the Iraqi military heavily armed in a gun battle. The commander of the offensive, Lieutenant General Abdel Wahab al-Saadi, was as upbeat as ever, presenting the fight as the Iraqi forces repelling the Islamic State's attack on the outside of the city and claiming to have killed 75 of the Islamic State fighters in the process. He offered no details on casualties on the Iraqi military side. Other Iraqi military officials told a different story, saying that the Islamic State forces are heavily dug in trenches and tunnels around the city outskirts and keeping Iraqi troops and affiliated militias at a distance in the ongoing offensive. U.S. officials have conceded that they believe Fallujah will not only be a long, difficult fight for the Iraqi military, but that the troops will likely face hostility from the civilian population as well, as the overwhelmingly Sunni Arab city is averse to being liberated by the Shiite-dominated military. Iraqi officials had presented territorial gains around the city's suburbs as major wins, but those came largely without resistance. The Islamic State appears to have decided that the city would be more readily defended at the city level instead of in the more rural outskirts. If you're fed up with the government running every aspect of your life, but you're not listening to the Lava Flow podcast yet, what's wrong with you? Go right now to thelavaflow.com/listen. The Lava Flow podcast, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Subscribe today using any podcatcher at thelavaflow.com/listen, or just go back to sucking up to the government. The Lava Flow podcast, striking the root every episode. UPI reports the U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday denied a request by a Louisiana inmate convicted of murder to decide whether the death penalty is unconstitutional. 2 of the 8 justices, Stephen Breyer and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, agreed to consider the question. It takes 4 justices to take a case, and the court is short 1 justice since the death of Antonin Scalia in February. Breyer wrote that Lamondre Tucker may well have received the death penalty not because of the comparative egregiousness of his crime, but because of an arbitrary feature of his case, namely geography. Breyer noted that the parish containing Shreveport imposes almost half the death sentences in Louisiana, even though it accounts for 5% of the state's population and 5% of its homicides. In January, the Supreme Court denied an appeal by Shonda Walter of her death sentence from 2003. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports General Mills Incorporated on Tuesday issued a voluntary recall of about 10 million pounds of flour, saying it was working with health officials to investigate an outbreak of E.coli that had sickened 38 people in 20 states. The bacteria strain behind the outbreak had not been found in any of General Mills' Gold Medal, Wandra, and Signature Kitchen flours or their manufacturing plant, according to the company. Consumers have not contacted it directly to report any illness, according to the Minneapolis-based company. General Mills issued a statement saying, out of an abundance of caution, a voluntary recall is being made. U.S. and state health authorities are probing an outbreak of E.coli 0121 from December 21st to May 3rd. The potentially deadly strain can cause bloody diarrhea and dehydration, mostly among the elderly, very young children, and people with weak immune systems. General Mills said the CDC found that about half of the 38 sickened people reported cooking with flour before becoming ill. Kashi, owned by General Mills' rival Kellogg, also announced a recall of one variety of its granola and granola bars on Tuesday. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.